Welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the hot comics from December 10th, 2021, and I'm recording this on June 10th, 2022. What we're doing here is we're looking back at what the books were hot and seeing what the values were then, what factors made them hot, and trying to see what's happened since so that we all make better decisions. The two lists we use for that are the CBSI Hot Top 10 and the Comic Tom Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. My cat is making herself known at the moment. But yeah, so we look at those two lists. They each put out a list of 10 books each week. And we look back to see, we wait 6 months, look to see what they've done. It's amazing how quickly the market can change in 6 months on these books. If you've been watching the show for a while, we've been doing this for over 3 years now. And yeah, learned a lot about what factors show a consistent growth and what factors you should be afraid of. So we got 17 books to look back at this week. I did not do a cash or trash this week, which means I have no predictions. So this is just what happened. I did not make predictions for this particular week. But let's dig into this list and see what we can figure out. First up, we have Saga #1, the Turkish edition. They put out a set, basically, of the regular cover plus the variant that you see on my slide. Basically, a set of those two for Saga #1s from Turkey were costing you $150 to $200 back then when they were released, where people could get to them. Now the regular A cover that matches the original A cover is running a $150 to $125 for a raw copy. The variant is running $175 to $250. 9.8 of the regular cover, 200 of the variant, 350. So these are actually up, marginally straight cash versus worth it on the raw side. But I think if you kind of take the averages of what they're doing, you're definitely making a profit. For the most part, you're looking at, the variant by itself costing what it did back then. So you're getting that A cover for free if you did that. So to me, that's probably a straight cash. But yeah, so people still love Saga, and I'm sure my man Andy has jumped all over these and have added them to his Saga collection. So next we have Crimson Reign #1, the 1 in 50 variant. So this is kicking off a new storyline. This 1 in 50 Star Wars cover, not typical for like the Star Wars covers that do really well. And this 1 in 50 was really only doing 65 to 90. Back then, so not even double ratio, which usually means it's going to finish. Less than double ratio usually means it finishes under ratio. That is the case here, with sales all the way down around $10, $10 to $40 on this sucker. 9.8 going for $150 to $175, which is actually not too bad for $50, $60 book, but this is 10 to 40 on raw copies. So yeah, this one definitely turned into a trap. Not a lot of interest in this particular cover after the fact. I think there actually is a first appearance in here, but yeah, it just hasn't managed to hold at all. Next, we have another Star Wars book. We have Shadows of the Empire #1. This is the first appearance of Prince Exor. That was an old Legends character. And basically he got name dropped for the first time in Crimson Reign #1. So as being part of the new canon. So he got name dropped, so he does exist. So that caused a little stir and people going after his first appearance. He did not appear, at least in this book. I don't know if he appeared later in this Crimson Reign run. This is one of the Star Wars books I'm not reading. But anyway, this one caused his original first appearance to jump up to $20 to $40. Now it's going for 10 to 25 with the 9.8 going 150 to 250. So this is just a classic down. I'll be back. Character, there was some stirred interest in it, but now that there's nothing really happening, so I'm guessing the character didn't appear, given that it has dropped back. Next, we're going to move into Animal Castle #1. So this was just a hot indie of the week. A lot of people were interested in this take on the Animal Farm story, or continuation, or whatever. However, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but this was the hot indie of the week. It was going for $20 for raw copies of this A cover. Now it's a $5 to $15 book. 9.8 only cost you $35 to $60. So basically, slabbing plus shipping basically is what you're looking at. So yeah, this one has definitely The cat is making her presence felt. She hasn't done this in a while. But this one has definitely turned into another trap. Not a lot of sustained interest, at least at this point, value-wise, in Animal Castle. Next, the next two books are, the first up is Battle Chasers Prelude. So this was the prelude to the original Battle Chasers run, which I remember being someone who read comics back in the 90s, and I love this run, and it went for like 9 issues before the artist and author Joe Madeira, I can't pronounce his name properly. I'm sure I butchered it, but anyway, he kind of went and worked for video games and did animation there, and kind of got out of the comic business. So we never got a continuation or a finishing of the story. Well, 20 years later, he announced that he was going to try to finish it. That they were working on finishing out the original Battle Chasers run. Caused this book to jump. The 10 should be coming out sometime this year. Raw copies were going for 15 to all the way up to $60 back then. Now it's 10 to 25. You could argue this is that most of the sales were probably steady, that this was probably on that lower end, with just a few sales that were up. But considering there was a spike all the way up to $60 on some of these books, definitely a down, and I'll be back on that higher end stuff. Worth waiting and being patient here. But cool story. I'm hoping it does finally come out. I would love to read the end of it. I still have my original prelude through number 9 of Battle Chasers. So next we have Battle Chasers number 1, the Red Monika variant. So this is a variant to number 1. CBSI didn't give a price on this, which I dislike when they don't do it. And because I didn't do a cash or trash that week, I didn't look up the prices to see where it was going. So I don't really have a reference here. So really I could just look back at the last 3 months of sales and see what the book had been doing. And yeah, it's basically been very steady over those 3 months. $40 to $90 for raw copies. 9.8 going for $400, but that was just one sale. Overall, this has been pretty steady and worth it over the 3 months. So I'm going to kind of assume it's been that over the 6 months. No way to know for sure with that, just because they didn't give values. And like I said, I wasn't doing a cash or trash, so I didn't look up the value myself. Next, we have Contest of Champions, number 1, on the list for the second week in a row. This is the first appearance of White Fox. We talked about this book last week. She was being kind of framed for the murder of Doctor Strange. So they were kind of pushing her a little bit, caused some interest in this character. Raw copies back then were going for $20 to $35. A 9.8 hit $250. Now raw copies are 10 to 25 with a 9.8 all the way back down to $150. So this one definitely turned into a trap. I know there's been rumors that they're going to use White Fox for some stuff, that Marvel very much likes the character. But so far we haven't got sustained interest in her, at least on the comic side, and really chasing that first appearance. Next, we're going to move into MCU rumors and stuff. And first up, we have Marvel Team Up number 65. First U.S. appearance of Captain Britain. Back then, raw copies were averaging around $100, basically just based on rumors that the character was coming. Now it's a $30 to $90 book raw. 9.8 will cost you quite a bit on this one, $1,100 to $1,600. So not sure why 9.8 are quite this high compared to those raw comic values, but they are. Maybe it's just a really tough book to find a high grade condition. But overall, on the raw side, definitely down, and I'll be back. They didn't give a 9.8 value back then, but yeah, surprisingly big jump for a 9.8 on a book. I mean, it's a 1978 book, but that's pretty good for 9.8 values for a book that you can get a raw copy and a high grade one for under 100. So next, we got Marvel Team Up number 95, first appearance of Mockingbird. And this was basically related to the Hawkeye show. There was a watch, and it was clear there were some conversations going on. This was before the reveal we got at the end, that maybe Clint's wife in the MCU was more than what she seemed. So people are thinking maybe she actually was Mockingbird, or at least the MCU version of Mockingbird. So this caused this book to jump to raw copies to jump up to $75. 9.8 were hitting $6 to $750 in value. Now it's a $20 to $60 book, 9.8 down to $500 to $600. So another I'll be back. Still a lot of interest in Mockingbird, but definitely has backed up a little bit from during the Hawkeye show. Next, we have West Coast Avengers number 21. Moon Knight joins the West Coast Avengers. I guess there was some Easter eggs related to West Coast Avengers and the Hawkeye show. Plus, we knew Moon Knight was coming. So people chase this? I don't know. This is one of those weird ones that Tom puts on the list sometimes. Raw copies, they said the average sale on raw copies was $3. Okay. 9.8 went for $150. Now it's a $5 to $25 book. I think anytime you bring attention to a book, you're going to get some sales for a little higher on eBay. But yeah, so technically it's up and worth it. I'm not sure there's any real spec here. We've had the Moon Knight show. I don't know that we're getting West Coast Avengers anytime soon. I think they're just going to be Avengers, but yeah. So, next we got Captain Marvel number 16, the first cameo appearance of Phyla-Vell. And this was basically rumors that she was going to be in Guardians 3. There were reports that Kevin Feige had requested James Gunn include the character. Still don't know if this is the facts or not, but caused raw copies of this book to jump up to $65. And 9.6 went all the way for $250. Now raw copies are $15 to $50, 9.8 $2 to $300, 9.6 $75 to $125. We did get reports recently of a actress that's going to be in Guardians 3 that we don't know what character she's playing. People have been talking Moondragon. People, maybe it's Phyla-Vell. I don't know. Definitely a possibility that if we were to get this character, maybe we have seen casting. We just don't know it yet. But anyway, this one definitely turned into a trap overall compared to what it was going for 6 months ago at this stage. We'll see if maybe that changes depending on what news we get with this other actress. Next, we're going to move into, we got Captain Marvel 17, the first full appearance of Phyla-Vell. So same thing's going on with this book. Back then, raw copies were $80 to $150. Now raw copies are $50 to $110. So another I'll Be Back. Not quite the trap that we got before, but definitely an I'll Be Back. 9.8 on this is going for $3 to $325. So still based on these rumors, we'll see if we get Phyla-Vell anytime soon in Guardians 3. With that, the last 5 books on the list are all related to the Spider-Verse stuff from Sony, the animated movies. We got that little animated teaser trailer about, what is it, Across the Spider-Verse, or I don't remember what the next 2 movies are going to be called. But anyway, so based on the little clip that we got, several books jumped. First among those was Spider-Man number 12 from 2016. The Miles kissing Gwen cover. Obviously, Gwen appears in the trailer talking to him. So this relationship, people are still thinking they might go somewhere with that. So that's what caused this one to kind of to jump on the list. Raw copies were going for $25. Now a raw copy will cost you $15 to $50. So you can get it for less, but most of the sales are the $25, $35, $40-ish range. So overall, this was kind of up and worth it. 9.8 on this book will cost you $315. So yeah, people are wanting to be in front of whether or not this is going to truly become a relationship. They teased it kind of in the first one. My guess is we probably get it in the second one. Next, we have Spider-Man India number 1, the first appearance of Pavadar Kabaka? I don't know how to pronounce the Indian version. This is the Indian version of Spider-Man. Now, I said first appearance. Really, it's the first appearance in U.S. comics. Appeared before that, but this is kind of a Spider-Verse from India, Spider-Verse version from India. And this character, people thought maybe you could see in the background in the trailer, or was hinted at in the trailer. Raw copies on this jumped up to $65 to $85. 9.8 hit $725 for a high sale. Now it's a $30 to $70 book. 9.8 $5 to $600. So definitely an I'll Be Back, but still a pretty strong price for this book, and a lot of interest in this particular character that may appear. 3 more books to go, and they're all related to one character we know is appearing, and that is, first up, we have Web of Spider-Man number 90. The first cameo of Spider-Man 2099. Basically what we got going on here is there's a double-page spread poster in this book, and he appears alongside the regular Spider-Man before he gets his own comic, kind of in the run-up to the release of Spider-Man 2099 number 1. They were kind of promoting him. This is one of the books they promoted him in. Back then, raw copies were going for all of $8, another one of these Tom specials, but there was a 500% increase in sales. And 9.8s were going for $100. And it's basically right there. It's a $5 to $15 book, with most of the sales being just under 10. 9.8 sale was right around 100 recently. So yeah, this has been pretty much steady and kind of worth it. I mean, you can argue I'll be back, but it's been right in the same range. So next we have Spider-Man number 365. Now there's a 5-page preview. I know different people feel different ways about when you get these previews at the back of a book, but there was a 5-page preview of Spider-Man 2099 number 1 in the back of this book. I think there's some other issues as well, but this is the one people have kind of settled on as the first one or the main one or whatever that this preview appeared in. Raw copies back then were going for $25, 9.8 going for $460. Now a raw copy will cost you $10 to $30, 9.8, $250 to $325. Calling this one steady because of the raw side, and just I'll be back because you can do a little bit less, but a lot of sales in that $20, $25 range. Only a couple of 9.8 sales, so even though that has definitely fallen back, still overall just calling this steady because of the raw sales. Last book this week is Spider-Man 2099, number 1, the first full appearance and origin of Miguel O'Hara, the Spider-Man 2099. Back then, raw copies were going for $25, 9.8 only for $200. So less than that Spider-Man 365, which is a little surprising to me. Both of them are pretty high print runs, but a little surprising. Raw copies now are 10 to 20. 9.8, 150 to 200. So this one's a little more of an I'll be back down. I call this one down, particularly on the raw side, because really no sales over that $20 range. I know there's a lot of these out there, but they're pretty condition sensitive. With the foil, I'm a little surprised by the pricing on this one is less than the 365, but that's just me. So that is this week's list. We had 17 books between the two lists. Some MCU, some Spider-Verse, a lot of comic buzz actually this week for once. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time.